Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. Joining us now is our in-house analyst, Nena Hugo, with stories trending around the world. Hi, Nena.
Hi, Nena.
Good to have you here.
Hi, Tosi.
Why are you giggling so much?
Did you recognize me?
Yes, I did. I love the hair.
Yeah.
New hair.
New hair, still the same me.
New stories.
Right.
What's trending?
Okay, and now an update from yesterday's report on the Dapchi schoolgirls. More than 100 of the schoolgirls were kidnapped by militants at a boarding school in Dapchi, Yobe State, have been released after government intervention. Arise News TV channel was one of the first on the scene as the girls were offloaded by what is believed to be Boko Haram motorcade earlier today. The government girls signed to technical college students had been missing since the attack during the evening of February 19th. Details of their whereabouts had been shrouded in mystery, but according to the government, 101 of the girls have now been released. President Muhammad Buhari's office said at least 4 ministers were traveling to the north to supervise the process.
Okay, so we have an update on this story, but we have to go on a short break now. Stay tuned. This is The Morning Show.
In a fast-paced world, you need the ability to make everything move at your own speed. Stay ahead and not miss anything. That's why I'm a More Life Complete, which lets me call everyone in Nigeria on all networks at just 15 kobo per second. You can also call any line in the United States, Canada, UK, Germany, India, China, and Malaysia too, at just 15 kobo per second. And just when you think life can't get any easier, I get 15 free minutes to call anyone in the 9 Mobile family.
Just booked your ticket to London.
Before you think I've got to compete on More Life, I also get 15 minutes free browsing to catch up on sports updates and anything online. Now that's what I call the complete package.
Okay, so we were talking about the Dapchi girls who were returned yesterday, and about 105 of them were freed, and a boy. So what we haven't been talking about is a boy that was taken, and we all just assumed it was girls who were kidnapped. But the story reports that said about 4 people died. Four girls died. 4 of the children died. Some sites have reported 5 girls. We're still waiting for an official number. But yeah, this is such a... I mean, it's sad. And what I find really funny is they saw the Boko Haram militants in the convoy, because we had the person, we had our Rise correspondent yesterday there. He said there was a Boko Haram convoy dropping these girls off, and nobody stopped them.
But I think I think with all this, it's all very tactful. It can't, you don't want to go in and lose something that you could ultimately win by being a little bit more intentional. If they were to go and attack and there might have been more conflict than just let's get the girls and then reassess how can we take down Boko Haram.
Yeah, and then also they did say the government one of the statements in one of the statements, they actually did mention that there was a lot going on behind the scenes and backstage which we're not aware of. So I'm not sure if there have been maybe some type of agreement, because I don't know how they just decided to do this, drop them off, and nobody has come in to play to try and stop them from leaving and things like that.
Apparently,
so
the presidency said there were no strings attached. They just brought the girls back. I'm not buying that.
I don't know if I'm sure if I buy that.
I don't believe that. And I was having a conversation yesterday with someone, and I'm like, the same thing can happen tonight. The same thing can happen tomorrow.
Because there was no interception.
No interception.
So
and we don't know what security measures they put in place. We don't know the locations of these schools. Do they need to be revisited? Apparently, the school doesn't even have walls, so it's like easy access into the school. There are some government schools, like the classrooms and all of that. They're not guarded. They're not in a secure place. So what is the government doing in the northeastern part of Nigeria? What are they doing?
Yeah, what kind of security are they employing
Exactly.
at this moment?
What's going to prevent this from happening again?
And again, it comes down to you can't even take your children can't even go to school safely. And this is supposed to be a place where people can seek refuge.
Yes.
And now, you have to were they gonna be carrying guns and knives and things like that to school?
Yeah, but okay. Well,
Well, we'll hopefully have more of an update on that story soon.
yeah.
Well, there has been yet another questionable driver app incident with a rider, and this time it's Uber. As you remember, back in January, Dorcas Shola Fapson narrated what occurred between herself and Taxify, in which she labeled as a near abduction. Now we have designer Tolu Bali, who shared a horrific experience between an Uber driver and her mother. She stated that she had ordered an Uber for her mom to go between Lekki and mainland. During the ride, the driver went off route without any valid reasoning. During the incident, her mother was scared, crying at one point in time was unreachable. Tolu finally got through, where she relayed that she had been threatened to be stabbed. Tolu told her to scream out of the window, and the driver stopped as they were in a bit of traffic. Witnesses were asking about the driver's credentials, and before retrieving, he ran off. Tolu later realized the picture of the driver on the app did not match the driver who picked her up. Tolu, who has reported the incident to the police and Uber, but Uber has been slow to respond.
So the picture on the app was not the same as the guy who picked her mother up.
Exactly.
How was that even possible? Because I know, I assume, and I know actually that there are regulations. You know, you have to have ID, you have to have done certain things. So did the driver just swap? Did somebody take the car?
The driver swapped. I'm thinking of a different scenarios in my head.
Did somebody say you're an Uber driver and I've used your car?
Yes. So I'm thinking of a different scenario. One, we need to find out that the original Uber driver is safe.
Exactly.
Where is the original Uber driver? I don't know that any Uber driver will leave his car to someone else to drive.
Because obviously.
Exactly.
But also sometimes some of the credentials that are on the profile are incorrect. Like I've been in cars where the license plate is incorrect, or the model of the car is incorrect because it needs to be updated. Oh, I need to send my updates.
Yeah.
And I'm just, you go in and you're like, okay, like, you hope for the best, but it's clear that none of that can no longer happen, like, with an incident like this, so.
With Uber, it's been from one story to the other. I feel like they need to, everyone prays for success, and it's a very successful company, but they're not, some screws are loose. They need to tighten all the screws. They need to do all the checks. We've been hearing so many stories.
I think the other stories we were hearing about Uber wasn't really directly about the drivers and the passengers, but we had one. That was a Taxify.
Oh, that was Taxify.
But Uber, I think with all the apps, I think they need to be a bit more. They need to have a bit more security on these things. So if you're updating your license plate, you need to let them know. And once that happens, they need to know that there's a penalty, there are fines, there are things that are going to happen to you if somebody uses your Uber account. For example, if your car has been stolen, report it immediately. If you're borrowing your car to your friend, don't do it, because we should actually report them. We should also report them when, like you said, you sometimes get in a car and they say that the license plate, they're about to update it.
Need to update it.
We need to actually report this and say, because or else we'll keep getting stuck in this mess.
Have been very funny. Like they start a trip and then they end it almost immediately, and they say, "Oh, can you pay cash for the rest of the trip?"
They've had that.
They just need to fix their system.
It's really bad, and especially because it's her mother. So imagine she's not like she's young, because before they were blaming Dorcas because of certain things. She's young, why is she out late? But I would like to see the excuse they give for this lady's mother.
My thing is that they've been slow to respond. This is a terrible incident. I think they should have been on it immediately.
They need a good publicist. They need a good person to handle their public relations, because they clearly don't have that. If they're slow to respond to a case like this, then something is off somewhere. There needs to be somebody who is doing damage control at every second.
But I don't think you need a publicist to say, we're looking into this immediately. Like, you don't need a publicist to say that.
You need to show that you care, because right now you're not responding. Seems like, it's just not that important to you. And that's exactly how it seems.
Maybe they're confused. They don't know what to say.
Because you need to
actually say that you're investigating it, like, immediately.
Right.
Well, Uber's been on the chopping blocks because police have released footage of a fatal crash involving a self-drive Uber car. The crash happened in Phoenix. The video shows a pedestrian walking from a darkened area onto a street just moments before an Uber SUV strikes her. The lights on the SUV didn't illuminate 49-year-old Elaine Hertzberg on Sunday night until a second or two before impact, raising questions about whether the vehicle should have stopped in time. The video shows the human backup driver in the SUV looking down until seconds before the crash. The driver looked up and appeared startled during the last moments of the clip, Police say the crash would have been difficult to avoid.
This case, the Uber car did have a human backup driver in it, but for whatever reason, that driver wasn't able to stop in time.
The good news out of this particular tragedy is we will have more information than we've ever had in an auto accident. We'll have sensors, we'll have cameras, we'll have visuals, we'll have everything.
Good
Wait,
news.
what?
In good news?
No, he said the good news about this is, how is that, what I presume is that he's trying to say that there's lessons learned from this, but somebody has lost their life, which was very unnecessary.
Tragic.
Very tragic and
One thing
unnecessary.
I heard, though, was they don't usually test on these kinds of roads. So this was like a residential kind of road that they've been testing the self-drive cars on highways where there's less chance of running into a pedestrian. But for some reason they brought it to this road for this particular test and then this happened. So again, fix your system.
Yeah.
Please,
Thank you, Nana.
Thank you so much, Nana.